Good morning. It is Monday, July 24th, and I'm Thomas Caldwell, author of the Aurelian Column, and I'm here with what I'm calling the Monday Morning Report, which is something I plan to make a habit of, and it's not a complete, detailed, in-depth news analysis, of which there's plenty out there, but these are stories that I think are going to be needed to be watched. And this is something just to start your week off with, things to look for and things to do research on your own. And the reason I recommend that is because things are moving so quickly and there's so many sources out there for information. People, whether they like it or not, have to research things on their own at least a little bit. You have to be very discerning about information these days because there's so much manipulation, so much false information, so many people that claim to have sources, so many people making things up in their mother's basement, that it's going to require a much more discerning individual to find out pretty much what's going on. So I'm going to give you some information on 3 stories that I think you should watch. One is malaria showing up in some southern U.S. states, namely Florida and Texas, although there's been some speculation that malaria is showing up in southern Georgia and Alabama. That hasn't been verified, but the CDC in Atlanta has reported there have been some cases in Florida and Texas. Malaria was wiped out in the United States, supposedly, back in the mid-20th century, but it's coming back. Now, why it's coming back? Malaria is a blood-borne disease, and it's spread by mosquitoes. So I'll leave it to your imagination as to why it might be showing up in that part of the country. Anyways, that is something to watch. Malaria is bad stuff. If you ever travel to places like Africa, like I have, there are tablets you can take to for temporary purposes to protect yourself from malaria, but those are by prescription, and they can't be taken for extended periods of time, or they'll cause you some damage. Traditionally, quinine water, tonic water, is what people took, but real tonic water is what you need, not the cheap stuff you find in supermarkets that's flavored, but real quinine water is something that people traditionally took for that. However, the best thing is just to avoid mosquitoes in places where it's showing up. Again, it's just showing up, so please watch that. Now, the next story I think is much more significant, and it's something that people really need to see and really need to be careful of and make your opinions known on it. That is, the FDA approved lab-grown meat last month. So companies are gearing up to produce chicken, seafood, steaks, I would imagine, in laboratories using a process where you basically create the stuff in vats. Now, this I find a little bit interesting because in order for that to work, you need something called immortal cells. Immortal cells. Immortal is in living forever cells, cells. And if you do a little bit of research, you'll see they're talking about immortal cells. The thing that's interesting is where immortal cells come from. Supposedly they can be created genetically, although I have been looking around for information on where that's actually been done. Immortal cells have been found in people, one person in particular, and I'll let you do the research on that. Just go out and research immortal cells and see what's going on there. That is a story that needs to be followed, and as companies are going to start peddling laboratory-grown meat, it's not really meat, though, is it? I think that we do need to watch that story. Now, the other story that's really interesting and is the renewed federal interest in ETs, UFOs, and the like. Now, this week there's supposed to be congressional hearings on this topic. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've always thought there was something to the ET story. I followed it for many years, and it makes perfect sense if you think about it, that when the stupid primates on planet Earth started blowing off nuclear weapons, suddenly these beings from other dimensions or other planets started showing up, like any concerned neighbors would when they start seeing things going on in their neighborhood they don't like. Is there any solid evidence for that? Well, supposedly there is. I haven't seen it yet. But this week, the feds are supposed to start coming clean with this. Now, I'll tell you what, if this happens, it's going to be really interesting, if it's true. One thing to look out for is major corporations. Apparently, if you read what's going on, there's some major corporations that are being named here. Now, my understanding on securities and exchange laws is these companies have been withholding from their shareholders information on advanced technologies they could use and sell. They're going to be in a little bit of hot water. At the end of the day, folks, it's always about money, isn't it? Whether this is real or whether it's another case of the feds trying to distract us from other very nefarious activity that's going on at the federal level, especially the executive branch of government, that will remain to be seen. But it is something to watch. And by this time next week, I will have a follow-up on what's going on. I do plan on going into that in detail, but that will be a podcast for paid subscribers only, of which there are a fair number now, and I'm very grateful for that. But these are just 3 stories I wish you to follow and do some research on your own. And I will follow them as well, and if there's any substantial updates, I will let you know about them. Okay? At the same time, please visit me at Substack. The address is aureliancolumn.substack.com. You can also reach the site through my aureliancolumn.com website or my regular one, miccampen.com, which stands for microphone, camera, pen. Anyways, you will be seeing more elaborate podcasts in the coming weeks with more production, a few interviews I'm lining up. Some of it will be free and some of it will be for paid subscribers only. I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to have a very good, safe week. That's all for now. Good day.